All right, I got to get your thoughts. You're a Steelers fan, as we all know.
Well, of course I am. That's the team to root for around these parts. I don't know about the Browns people around here.
Now there's people throwing their food and drinks at their TV screens and their phones right now.
Everybody's favorite guy in the world, everybody's favorite, college student out there, Baker Mayfield, can't afford to throw 3 interceptions, per game anymore. That won't happen.
Okay, so as a Steelers fan, what is your take on everything that has happened? Let's start. I was going to start with AB, but since you brought up the Browns, let's just start with the Browns. I am one of the people who am not a big fan of Freddie Kitchens. I do not think Freddie Kitchens yet has proven anything. I think Freddie Kitchens last year was a better play caller than what you've had in years, but I don't think it was anything special. Freddie Kitchens is the most pressure of a rookie head coach I've ever seen. I've never seen a rookie head coach come in with this much talent and this much expectations year one and expect to win.
But it's also the fan base. The fan base is yearning for a team that can contend and that can make the playoffs. So I think that they just believe by default, based on the talent they have on the field, which is exceptional talent, that they're going to make the playoffs just because of the players that they have. What if, Njoku gets hurt? Beckham, Landry. What if one of these guys gets injured and then your offensive line really can't hold up for longer than 10 seconds?
That offensive line is trash. But that's nothing here or there. Here's the other thing. You're talking about injuries. What if they lose? What if they start off 1-2 or 1-3 or 2-4? What's that going to do? You have a lot, and you've dealt with this for years in Pittsburgh, a lot of big personalities. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. We have Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, all these personalities. What are they going to do? Are they going to get upset? Is Odell going to go throw his helmet at the net? Is he going to go pee like a dog in the back of the end zone? What is these guys going to do if they start losing? Nobody's talking about that. All they want to talk about around here is playoffs and Super Brownies. Can we cool the Jets?
Well, I think that it's going to come to a harsh reality. The good NFL teams have good offensive lines.
Boom.
And that's just definitive. Like New England, best offensive line for a sequence of 15 to 20 years, maybe ever. Steelers, best offensive line in the league. Your Philadelphia Eagles, my pick to win the Super Bowl, best top 5 offensive line. Dallas Cowboys, top 5 offensive line. Saints, good line. So I think there's just consistency with all that. All the playoff teams that make it consistently every single year. I know there's some teams that flip-flop in between. The Colts are in there. They have a great line. I think they're going to be okay without Andrew Luck because of the offensive line and because of the defense. You don't need Odell Beckham Jr. What has Odell Beckham Jr. done? What has he done besides one grab in the back of the end zone?
Which wasn't even that impressive of a grab. I have argued that for years.
Against the Dallas Cowboys, so the media wants you to believe that catch makes him an all-star back.
And that team, by the way,
an all-star receiver.
That Cowboy team had trash corners, by the way. Let's not forget about that. And you're right. What has Odell done? He's been hurt a lot. Yes, he's gotten all these yards and blah, blah, blah. But remember the one playoff game they had? The Monday before the playoff game, they go out on a boat trip, and they go to Lambeau Field. And Aaron Rodgers, who we all know about his issues, he just lights them up. And that's it. That's Odell Beckham's career. And then the spiral in New York starts getting out of control.
Well, I don't think that partying is a big deal. What I think is a big deal.
Oh, I do.
Is Cleveland Browns, they're so desperate that, they're going to take a guy who has a screwed up knee and they're just going to think that he's going to play so well because, they believe that they deserve good karma. I don't know for what reason. The team with the worst luck ever is trading for a player that can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
What is that? Don't draft your wide receiver. Let's go sign one. Let's go sign, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, who probably won't play till week 8 if he does play. Let's go sign these players because they might work out.
Now,
Let's not do our educated research like like the Rooneys and Kevin Colbert do, to draft wide receivers so that we could get Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell out of town, and then the Steelers could prepare to be the most under-the-radar contender team that there is in football.
Now, let me defend the Odell Beckham trade on this. By the way, and we've talked about Odell, that trade to me was a fair trade. I would have probably done that trade. The Browns didn't give him much in that trade. So I think I would have done that trade if I was presented that offer. You had this opportunity to go get this guy. But here's my argument. I wouldn't have gave him the big money. Comes in 1 year, if he's garbage, you trade him, you get him out. I thought the trade was fair. My point is this. The draft this year, now I think Greedy Williams could be good. I think this Taki could be okay. And I like this Matt Wilson, this linebacker out of Alabama. I think the defense is really good. Problem is, here's my thing. They did not address the offensive line at all. You saw Greg Robinson, Greg Robinson was fine last year. Why? Because Baker was getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds, and every time Baker had to hold on to the ball, he was getting sacked. Did you watch that preseason game against Tampa Bay? I know it's preseason. Tampa Bay is a good defensive line, not the best. They were owning the Browns at left tackle, center, right tackle. I mean, this team is going to go as far as Baker Mayfield stays healthy, and I am concerned. I am concerned that by week 4...
What are you concerned about?
By week 4, Baker Mayfield's going to be out with a concussion because he's going to be killed.
Oh, boy.
Because this line cannot block. Greg Robinson's terrible. Chris Hubbard's terrible. Shredder's okay. I always thought he was overrated. But Tonio's good. I mean, yeah, you have all these skill position players. How are you going to get him the ball if you can't block?
But Tonio's an all-pro because their entire line couldn't start for these Steelers. Yep. But anyways, back to the Steelers. When I came on this show last spring, it was before the draft. I said that the Browns would win 10-11 games and that they would make the playoffs over the Steelers and the Steelers would get the wild card. I'm going to go ahead and change that stance. And I don't want to throw Devin Bush as the second coming of Jack Lambert or Ham or whatever.
He's a good football player, man. He's a good football player.
He's a good football player, but also Brandon Lewis. You got to think about this. The Steelers probably gave up an average of 200 yards a game on the ground against everybody they played against last season. Ever since Ryan Shazier went down, it's been awful. They have nobody to blitz, and if you don't get to the quarterback, they get the first down over the middle. So when you insert Devin Bush, what hole does that fill? Is he going to be an all-pro? No. Is he going to be, is he going to be what Ryan Shazier was? Maybe.
He might in a couple years. Give him a couple years. Pittsburgh is notorious. Linebackers, wide receivers, as you know. These guys, they develop them so nicely. I wouldn't be surprised if Devin Bush is a Pro Bowler this year. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if by next year he's an All-Pro. I wouldn't.
I think Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt are going to be our two All-Pros on deep. So.
Well, that and you have Devin Bush. So... You're right. You have Bud Dupree, T.J. Watt, who I love T.J. Watt, and I wanted the Browns to draft him so badly because they needed a linebacker. I'm an Eagles fan, but as we know, I still live in Cleveland, still follow the Browns. I thought T.J. Watt would have been a good fit for him, and then Pittsburgh ends up getting him, just like everybody thought Ryan Shazier would be a good fit for the Browns, and Pittsburgh ended up getting him. You know what I really find funny about the Steelers, real quick? I'm going to tell you. Seems like they always draft guys the Browns really want, like 1 or 2 spots ahead, whether they come from Ohio State or not, and they just turn into great football players.
Big Ben was that too. I think that's the most haunting one out of this 20-year stretch of the Cleveland Browns. I think that the most haunting draft pick that they didn't take was Ben Roethlisberger, because I think they had him on the board. I think.
Well, do you think Ben's career would have been as good in Cleveland?
You know what?
Because remember, when he started out with Bill Cowher, he was a game manager when they won that first Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We can talk about hypotheticals all we want. What if this guy went to this team? What if this guy went to whatever? His career probably wouldn't have been good because he wouldn't have had the defense and he wouldn't have had the wide receivers. And he would have been thrown into the fire because it's the Cleveland Browns and because that's what they do. When a quarterback doesn't work out, we're crying to the hills. There were some Browns fans that wanted Johnny Football. When he didn't work out, we're going to run to the hills about it. With Baker Mayfield, I like how they're embracing Baker Mayfield, but you just better watch yourself because...
Oh, they're yapping. This is what I've said all offseason. Earn your talking. When you win the Super Bowl, you have the right to talk. Until then, don't yap. Prove it on the field. And, I do like Baker. I think there's a difference between Baker and Odell Beckham when it comes to, antics. Because I think Baker's antics, I think people, I even gravitate to Baker. I like Baker. I think Baker's a really good guy. I don't think Baker does it for show. I think Baker's just Baker, and I think people gravitate towards Baker. Odell, not for me. It's completely different.
Did you happen to watch Straight Up Steve Austin after Raw on Monday?
I did not. I was actually going to go watch it this weekend when I had some time.
It was a great show this week. It was probably one of my favorite ones. Rob Riggle was on with Steve Austin.
Yeah, I saw that.
11 o'clock on USA. Great show. Straight Up Steve Austin with Stone Cold. He had Baker Mayfield on his show Monday night, and it was awesome. Like, they were driving in Austin's Jeep Hummer, whatever it was, contraption. I'm not good with cars, sorry. But they were driving down the road in Cleveland, and fans were honking at Steve Austin and Baker Mayfield on the highway. And that's just American, right?
Right.
He loves the area of Cleveland. He is a fan of being there, and I think that's the start. But I think at the end of the day, you got to protect this man and get him an offensive line.
All right. I want to transition really quickly before we go into wrestling with Andrew Luck really quickly. We all know what happened. I wish Andrew Luck, obviously, his best in his future endeavors. And, I really just think that, people are mad over the fact that Andrew Luck retired. He didn't give the Colts enough time, and this isn't fair to us as fans. And I'm like, so it's Andrew Luck's body. He can't make a decision.
Right.
Like, people are like, oh, well, he'll be back in a year, or he'll go to the XFL. I'm like, I don't care if he ever takes a snap again. Get right. Be you. Win the day. Don't try to kill yourself playing a football game just because some idiot fans boo.
And listen, I don't think that they had the right to boo. Reason being is because you already have one of the better teams in the league without him. And whoever doesn't realize that, Andrew Luck is an unbelievable player. He would have been the reason that they would have made the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, this is still a borderline playoff team.
They're a borderline playoff team. They're not as good without Andrew Luck. We're not kidding ourselves. But this is the point I want to throw out to you, Mike. Jacoby Brissett, he's good, but I want to say this. There's a quarterback at Clemson right now. His name is Trevor Lawrence. To me, this is the best prospect I've ever seen coming out. I absolutely love this kid, Trevor Lawrence. I think he fit in any system. He could be one of the best quarterbacks of all time, okay?
Right.
So, I think about the Colts. I keep Brissett for this year. I see what I have. I see if I can get some value. Next year, I think I trade him for a first-round pick, and I think I'm taking him for this kid. As much as I love Jacoby Brissett, I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think this kid at Clemson, barring injury, this kid, Trevor Lawrence, is something special.
Well, I think that the Colts have to make a decision. Frank Reich, they have to decide, do we want to trust Jacoby Brissett, or do we want to tank to get Trevor Lawrence?
But not this year. They don't have to make that decision this year. They can make it in the offseason.
But
he's not coming out till the 2021 draft. So they don't have to make that decision this year. They can play Brissett the whole year. That's what I'm saying. Play Brissett, see what value. There's also, by the way, I want to point this out. There's other teams that are in the same situation. I think Jacksonville with Nick Foles, same situation. Miami with Fitzpatrick and Rosen, whatever the heck is going on there.
Yep.
I think there's teams in this situation where you go, okay, let's play these quarterbacks this year. Let's be bad. Let's get a good draft pick. But let's kind of build their value. Let's say, oh, this guy has some tools. And then next year, whoever, I think the Dolphins, by the way, have the best shot at getting him because they're just a terrible football team. Mm. But whoever wants to completely tank, and I'm not saying blow up your roster. I'm just saying, let's make some close games and then purposely lose at the end if you can. This kid, I've never said this. I don't believe tanking works in football. But when you have a special talent, and I'm not saying that the guys coming out this year like Jake Fromm, I like Jake Fromm the best out of this year's class, but Fromm and Trevor Lawrence to me is a different level. Like, I am hyping up this kid now. You know somebody's special. Like, when LeBron was in high school, we all knew he was something special.
Right.
You know when somebody is special. That is Trevor Lawrence to me.
Well, I think also another team that you might want to factor in there, and this to me is my perfect fit for Trevor Lawrence. 2 years from now, Joe Flacco definitely will be out of the league or not under contract.
Denver, yeah.
Okay, so probably the best situation to win a ring for Trevor Lawrence is with one of the top 5 defenses in football, the Denver Broncos. I mean, realistically, they still have Hall of Famers on the defensive end. They still have Von Miller. They still have Bradley Roby. You know, and this team, it would be a good fit for Trevor Lawrence, especially with John Elway. The dude looks like John Elway did when he went out of college.
My counter argument to Denver is like you know, the Colts are young. As much as Miami stinks, they're young. Denver, like Von Miller's a little older. You know, he came out in 2011. He's almost a decade into this league. You know, Bradley Chubb is young, but they don't really have great skill position players, and if they are, they're old, besides Cortland Sutton. And, I mean, they have Philip Lindsay, but as we know, running backs revolve every year. So that would be my counter-argument to Denver is they have older skill position players, I think, than people realize.
Well, we'll talk about it in a couple of years, but I agree with you. Indianapolis is probably the best call for Trevor Lawrence, but don't give up on Jacoby Brissett yet.
No, I'm not giving up on Jacoby Brissett, but this is what I'm saying.
He came from Belichick. Are we forgetting something?
Right, but okay, if Trevor Lawrence, if Trevor Lawrence was not on the board, I'd be fine with Jacoby Brissett. This is like, okay, let me try to make an analogy here. I got vanilla ice cream with sprinkles. I got 1 scoop of vanilla ice cream with sprinkles.
Is that your first choice? Vanilla ice cream with sprinkles?
That would be like a choice if I didn't have vanilla, chocolate with sprinkles, pretzels, Oreos, all the toppings. Like, if I don't get everything, I'm fine with just vanilla ice cream and sprinkles. Like, he's good. Like, but if I can get everything, give me everything. Trevor Lawrence is the total package.
We'll see. He's still got a year to prove himself. 2 years. 2 years? 2 years?
Yes, he's got 2 years. And by the way, he's got the best coach in college football in Dabo Swinney. I do believe now Dabo's taken over as Nick Saban, best coach in college football. Let me just say this. Trevor Lawrence lit up Alabama. I mean, he torched them. And Alabama had a lot of good football players we know every year. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, all these big-time schools. Defensive players coming out of the draft left and right. Trevor Lawrence tore them apart. And by the way, he wasn't nervous. He wasn't nervous. He looked like a seasoned veteran. He looked like a 5-year NFL quarterback. And I'm not kidding you. There was no point that I said, he could use a little work here. He could have been the number 1 pick this year. If he was allowed, he could have beat out Kyler Murray for the number 1 pick. I am telling you, this kid is something, Mike. He's something.
Yeah, I would totally agree. The kid can play some ball, and I think his game definitely translates well to the NFL.